conference that focused on the new technologies that had come from the DeFi and crypto worlds and how they are entering into the mainstream payments ecosystem.
Agnostic
platform
really doesn't care too much about creating and managing its money supply, although it does have its native money supply. So, you know, it's doing, in the way I exposited the idea, Ripple is handling the processing of payments for many of the world's unbanked people. Okay, and that the Fed is one institution that's providing a type of currency that people could use as payment using the Ripple protocol. But there may be other currencies. There could be Bitcoin, there could be the yen. So, I mean, I see room for coexistence. I mean, I see it today. I don't see any reason to doubt why it might not continue in the future.
All right, everyone, let's rewind to July for a second because something absolutely huge happened with Ripple that we need to talk about. So picture this. Ripple didn't just make one massive move, they made two. First, they applied for a national bank charter from the OCC. But wait, there's more. They also applied for a Fed master account. I mean, come on, that's pretty incredible timing, right? And here's why this is such a big deal. We're literally watching history unfold before our eyes. Every major financial agency out there is doing a complete 180 on crypto. They're not just accepting it anymore, they're actively embracing it. These organizations are basically saying, you know what? Crypto is the future. We want in. We want to use this technology, and we're going to remove every single roadblock standing in the way. And guess who's leading this charge? The Federal Reserve themselves. Now, if you've been part of the XRP community for any length of time, you've probably heard people speculating about the Fed eventually using Ripple and XRP, right? Well, here's where it gets really interesting. With all these announcements about ROUSD and stablecoins getting integrated into our financial system, I'm starting to think we're not just speculating anymore. We might actually be watching this theory become reality right before our eyes. So let's break this down and see what's really happening here. Okay, so let's jump right into the bombshell news that dropped yesterday. And trust me, this is huge. The Federal Reserve just announced they're seriously looking into creating payment accounts specifically for crypto and fintech companies. And here's the kicker. These accounts would give these companies direct access to Fed payment rails. I mean, think about what this actually means for a second. Now here's where it gets really exciting. This is basically tailor-made for Ripple. Remember back in July when Ripple applied for that Fed Master account? Well, this is exactly why that move was so brilliant. With access like this, Ripple could hold their Roost reserves directly with the Federal Reserve. And guys, that's not just convenient. That's game-changing security. We're talking about an additional layer of protection that would make people trust Roost even more. Plus, and this is the really cool part, it opens up another payment rail for them to work with. So basically, Ripple was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. But wait, it gets even better. Because on the exact same day we got that Fed announcement, something else massive was happening behind the scenes. The Federal Reserve was hosting their Payments Innovation Conference. And let me tell you, the guest list was absolutely stacked. We're talking about some of the biggest names in both traditional finance and crypto all in one room. Who showed up? Well, you had Chainlink, BlackRock, Paxos, Circle, Coinbase, Fireblocks, Arc. I mean, this was basically the who's who of the financial world. And here's what's really interesting. They weren't just there to chat about the weather. These executives were deep diving into how to bridge traditional finance with DeFi, discussing stablecoins, and talking about tokenization. The timing here? It's not a coincidence, folks. When the Fed makes an announcement about crypto payment accounts on the same day they're hosting a conference with all these major players, well, that tells us everything we need to know about where this industry is headed. All right, so we just got some incredible insider details from Eleanor Tourette about what actually went down at this Federal Reserve conference. And honestly, this is mind-blowing stuff. So get this, Governor Chris Waller just dropped a bombshell announcement. The Fed is proposing something they're calling a skinny master account. And yes, that's actually what they're calling it. Now, what makes this so revolutionary? Well, any legally eligible institution could get direct access to the Fed's payment rails without having to jump through hoops with partner banks. It's like getting VIP access, but without all the extra perks of a full master account. So no borrowing from the Fed, but you still get the main event. And here's the beautiful part. Every legally eligible entity could get one of these. The rules for who qualifies aren't changing, which means the door just swung wide open for innovative banks, fintech companies, stablecoin issuers, and payment companies to get in on the action. This is absolutely massive for companies that have been fighting tooth and nail for years. I'm talking about Custodia Bank and Kraken FX. These guys have been battling for Fed master accounts forever, with Custodia literally taking the Fed to court over it. And then you've got companies like Ripple and Anchorage who applied just this year. This could fast-track their entire process. Guys, we might be looking at a complete game changer for the entire crypto industry here. Now here's something really cool that caught my attention. Anthony Welfare, who you might know as a former Ripple employee, just dropped this truth bomb on crypto Twitter. He said, "Crypto Twitter is bearish, but we haven't even started the real adoption phase yet." And then he said something that gave me chills. Blockchain-based payments will be the standard before you know it. Then he asked the million-dollar question. What happens to old-school banks, existing payment rails, and card payment processors? His answer? They become redundant. And you know what? He's absolutely right. When you look at what's happening in finance right now, everything is changing at warp speed. Listen, I've been talking about this stuff for years now, highlighting all these developments back in 2022, 2023, and 2024. But then 2025 hit, and suddenly everything we were speculating about with Ripple and XRP started becoming reality. Think about it. Stablecoins are literally taking over the financial world. The FX market is moving on-chain. Cross-border payments are more accessible to crypto than ever before. It's like watching science fiction become science fact. And here's the kicker. The US government itself is now saying that crypto is the future. They're talking about stablecoins becoming the backbone of the US dollar in the digital age. I mean, can you believe we're hearing this from the US government? It's absolutely mind-blowing. But wait, because we also got this incredibly bullish video clip from the conference that's going to blow your mind. All right, I'm about to play you a video clip that's going to absolutely blow your mind. This comes from Subjective Views, and it's breaking news from Governor Waller's opening remarks at that Fed Payments Innovation Conference that's happening right now. But before I hit play, let me just set this up for you because what you're about to hear is huge. Governor Waller just said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that digital assets and crypto are no longer sitting on the sidelines. They're now becoming part of the main fabric of our payment and financial system. Guys, I can't stress this enough. This might be one of the most important statements we've ever heard about crypto, and it's coming directly from a Federal Reserve governor. This isn't some crypto influencer or industry insider. This is the Fed itself acknowledging what we've all been waiting for. So listen up, because every single word in this clip matters. Here we go.
Good morning. All right. Well, thank you, Susan, and good morning to everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the Federal Reserve Board for our first Payments Innovation Conference. My objective in creating this conference is twofold. First, I wanted to have a conference that focused on the new technologies that had come from the DeFi and crypto worlds and how they are entering into the mainstream payments ecosystem. My goal is to have a vibrant discussion about payments between traditional payment incumbents and the new entrants from the DeFi world. Second, I wanted to send a message that this is a new era for the Federal Reserve in payments. The DeFi industry is not viewed with suspicion or scorn. Rather, today, you are welcome to the conversation on the future of payments in the United States and on our home field, something that would have been unimaginable a few years ago. My view for the Fed from now on is embrace the disruption, don't avoid it. As you know, we are well into a technology-driven revolution in payments, and I'm here to say that the Federal Reserve intends to be an active part of that revolution. A number of technological advances are transforming the payment system. Stablecoins and tokenized assets, making use of distributed ledger technology. The rapid adoption of artificial intelligence AI, and increasingly the convergence between these innovations and the traditional financial ecosystem. This includes the institutions and infrastructure that our economy has long depended on to operate a safe and efficient payment system. And yes, this also includes the Federal Reserve. The revolution in transforming payments is demanding change everywhere. And I will say more in a moment about some new ideas that the Federal Reserve is studying to support those innovations. I have spoken before of what I see as the two broad models of payments innovation in our market economy. The first is private sector-driven innovation. Most innovation comes from the private sector, which is motivated and best positioned to allocate resources and take risk with new technologies. The second model is when public sector entities, such as the Fed, build platforms and provide services that enable the private sector to more readily and rapidly expand new services to its customers. This should be done rarely and in limited circumstances where it addresses a specific market need. The posture of public institutions, including the Federal Reserve, should be to acknowledge and embrace private sector innovation that can improve the payment system while preserving its safety and stability, which are as essential to the new generation of innovators as they are to legacy institutions. Now let me pull back a moment and remind everyone how we got here. Since nearly its founding, the Federal Reserve System has worked to facilitate payment and settlement system efficiency alongside the private sector. From the beginning, the clearing services provided by the reserve banks obviated the need for daily movements of cash in armored cars with heavily armed guards. Long before we started speaking of the payment rails that are facilitating the kind of innovation we're discussing today, the Fed was running trains on steel rails to deliver and clear paper checks traveling across the country. FedWire began conducting interbank transfers through telegraph wires in the early 20th century. Fast forward today, where we have multiple infrastructures that settle interbank transfers in real time. Today's conference will focus on private sector-driven innovation. We have assembled 100 private sector innovators who are leveraging cutting-edge technology to create new possibilities in the payments landscape. Our panelists are engaging in integrating traditional financial payment rails with distributed ledgers, developing new products and services in the digital asset ecosystem, and leveraging AI in the payment system. It's worth noting that the firms engaged in these activities include banks, asset managers, retail payment firms, technology companies, as well as crypto-native fintechs. This is an acknowledgement that distributed ledgers and crypto assets are no longer on the fringes, but are increasingly woven into the fabric of the payment and financial system.
And there you have it. I mean, did you guys catch that? We just heard the Federal Reserve, basically admit that crypto isn't some side project anymore. It's now a crucial piece of our entire financial system. This is literally the moment that Ripple and XRP have been building toward for years. And honestly, this is the moment we've all been waiting for as a community. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it because we've been here through all the ups and downs, all the speculation, all the what-ifs. And now we're watching it all come together in real time. The Fed just validated everything we believed was going to happen. Now let's talk about something we've been keeping our eyes on for a really long time. The U.S. Faster Payments Council. If you've been following this channel for a while, you know we've been tracking this organization closely because they're absolutely crucial to understanding where payments are headed. Here's a fun fact that might surprise you. Back in 2019, the Federal Reserve actually became a founding sponsor of the FPC. So yeah, the Fed has been in on this from day one, which makes everything we're seeing now even more significant. So what exactly does the FPC do? Well, they're basically the innovation powerhouse behind our payment system. Their whole mission is to push forward new technologies while making sure we don't lose sight of the bigger picture. And what's that bigger picture? It's pretty awesome, actually. They want to create a world where you can send payments safely and securely to anyone, anywhere, at any time, with money showing up almost instantly. Think about that for a second. We're talking about revolutionary payment technology that could completely transform how we move money around the globe. And all of this is being guided by these incredible new technologies we've been talking about. And here's where things get really interesting. Ripple has been working hand in hand with the U.S. Faster Payments Council for ages now. I know the official records show they officially teamed up back in 2023, but between you and me, these two have been collaborating behind the scenes for way longer than that. We're talking about a partnership that goes back years and years. It's like they've been building this relationship quietly in the background, laying all the groundwork for what we're seeing unfold today. Pretty strategic, if you ask me. But wait, it gets even crazier. Just recently, we're talking August 28th, they released details about their new board advisory group, and guess what? Ripple is actually on this advisory group. We've got James Wallace representing them, and I'm pretty sure there's at least one other Ripple employee on there too. I believe it's actually 2 Ripple representatives total. So yeah, Ripple isn't just working with the FPC from the outside. They're literally helping to guide and shape the direction of faster payments in the US from the inside. I think it was Pat Thalen that was also on here, but I might be wrong. But we did follow, we followed this organization for so long. But here's what's absolutely mind-blowing about all of this. Ripple is right in the middle of it all. They're part of an organization that's heavily backed by the Federal Reserve, and this is happening at the exact same time the Fed is making their biggest push into crypto ever. I mean, the timing here is just too perfect to be a coincidence. With everything we've seen, the Fed embracing crypto, the Payment Innovation Conference, the new skinny master accounts, I genuinely believe Ripple and XRP are going to be huge players in this massive initiative to bring these new technologies into our financial system. We're literally watching all the pieces fall into place right before our eyes. And before we wrap up, I've got to share this incredible post from Smokedog because it perfectly ties everything together. So here's the thing. The Federal Reserve absolutely can integrate with Ripple in a massive way. I've talked about this before, but it's worth repeating because it's so important. These two systems aren't competitors. They can actually work together beautifully, and we've got proof. Remember when the Federal Reserve's David Andolfato confirmed that Ripple's protocol can actually coexist with the US payment system? This is huge, guys. So let me play this for you. Listen closely because this is going to blow your mind. Check this out.
David, fantastic presentation.
Thank you.
I'm one of the fellows who raised his hand when you asked who uses Ripple, Joe and myself. And I just want to say, it's I'm very happy to see that someone at the St. Louis Fed respects it at the very least. And I'm sure that from all the good things you said about it, many people in this room would like to hear more. But you mentioned that you foresee peer-to-peer currency-agnostic payment clearing systems such as Ripple coexisting with institutions such as central banks in the United States. And my question is, how are we going to see that happen? What is it going to take?
So thank you very much. And, all the nice things I said about Ripple, everybody knows to short it. Well, how do I see it? I mean, like you said, Ripple is a currency agnostic platform. It really doesn't care too much about creating and managing its money supply, although it does have its native money supply. So, it's doing, the way I exposited the idea, Ripple is handling the processing of payments for many of the world's unbanked people. Okay, and that the Fed is one institution that's providing a type of currency that people could use as payment using the Ripple protocol. But there may be other currencies. There could be Bitcoin, there could be the yen. So, I mean, I see room for coexistence. I mean, I see it today. I don't see any reason to doubt why it might not continue in the future.
Now, the reason these technologies can work together is absolutely fascinating. And yes, I know he made that comment about shorting. Whether he was joking or not, let's just say that statement didn't age very well. It's like milk left out in the sun, am I right? But here's what really matters. We're seeing these incredible connections between the Fed and Ripple everywhere we look. That's the real story here, and it's getting stronger every single day. The truth is, the Fed and Ripple have been dancing around each other for years now, all focused on the same goal: making our financial system way more efficient and getting rid of all those annoying bottlenecks that slow everything down. And here's something really interesting to think about. Even if the Fed decides to step back and take more of a hands-off approach to the system, crypto could still thrive. In fact, it might even work better that way, just like Anthony Welfare was saying. The reality is, a lot of these traditional players, including the Fed itself, are basically middlemen that crypto could potentially replace. I mean, when you think about it, the Fed is kind of like that extra step that blockchain technology makes unnecessary. But here's the thing. I still believe the Fed will find their place in this new world. And when blockchain becomes the standard for how money moves around the globe, which I absolutely believe it will, Ripple and XRP are positioned to be major players in that system. Maybe even the major player. You could definitely argue that Ripple has the upper hand here. And honestly, I think you'd be 100% right. So the big question is, will Ripple and XRP get integrated into the US financial system through the FED? Based on everything we've covered today, I think there's a really high probability that these recent announcements are directly connected to what Ripple's been working toward, especially with their Fed Master Account application. This could be exactly how we see Ripple and XRP become major players in the US financial system. All right, everyone, that's a wrap on today's breakdown. If this got you as excited as it got me, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and definitely turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of these game-changing updates. Trust me, you're going to want to stay plugged in for what's coming next.